like you ever felt. Oh my God, this just keeps getting worse.
Breakthrough Media. Truth always wins out in the end because it outlives falsehood.
Are you listening?
Tonight at 11:59 a.m. on January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump took the oath of office and became the president of the United States. By 12:05 that same day, Democrats were calling for his impeachment. And that's barely an exaggeration, if at all. Literally for years, the left has been howling that Trump must be removed immediately from office without the consent of voters. Every day. Finally, today, this day, fewer than 11 months before the next presidential election, they explained precisely how they plan to do that. House Democrats described their articles of impeachment today. Watch.
The first article is for abuse of power. It is an impeachable offense for the president to exercise the powers of his public office to obtain an improper personal benefit. That is exactly what President Trump did when he solicited and pressured Ukraine to interfere in our 2020 presidential election. This gives rise to the second article of impeachment for obstruction of Congress. We must be clear. No one, not even the president, is above the law.
What?
Got that? No one is above the law. Explain the very same people who spent all day making excuses for illegitimate government spying on American citizens. But never mind. Literally, no one is above the law. Yeah, it's pretty simple. You don't need a law degree to understand it. Nobody is above the law. Nobody. Except for the more than 20 million illegal aliens who the left tell us have every right to be here, ignoring our laws. And shut up, racist, if you disagree. Also, the so-called homeless, shooting up and defecating and living full-time on our sidewalks. The law does not apply to them, or to subway jumpers in New York, or to Hunter Biden. But other than that, absolutely nobody is above the law, meaning Trump. And that's why they're impeaching him. But they're not celebrating that fact today. No, they're not. You might think they're excited, but they're not. Democrats want to be completely clear on this question. They're extremely troubled. It has come to this. It is a sad day in Washington, a moment of poignant reflection, a moment redolent with sadness. Nancy Pelosi and Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff and a number of other people who've never had a single authentic impulse in their entire lives would like you to know that they feel extremely, what's the word for this, solemn about what's happening today. Seriously, solemn.
Good morning, everyone. On this solemn day, I recall that the first order of business for members of Congress is the solemn act to take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That is why we must take this solemn step today.
The President's oath of office appears to mean very little to him, but the articles put forward today will give us a chance to show that we will defend the Constitution and that our oath means something to us.
These guys. Look, man.
Yeah. And if that wasn't entertaining enough, and it was, but there was still more, because this is Washington. There's always more. Dig your hand a little deeper into the stocking. Another present. Today's was Chuck Schumer, the professional Wall Street shill who lies for a living, going onto the Senate floor and accusing us, this network, and brace yourself here for a hot blast of irony, accusing Fox News of being dishonest. For real. Watch.
The president conjures fictions, buys into baseless conspiracy theories told by known liars on Fox News or somewhere else. Here in the Senate, certain members of the grand old party are forming their own conspiracy caucus. Any crazy conspiracy, whether launched by Putin or some wild-eyed, crazy conspiracy theorist who manages, of course, all the time to get on Fox News and have his story or her story repeated.
It's just such a shame that Sigmund Freud has fallen out of favor. They're attacking him on the college campuses as a sexist. But here it is, distilled to its essence. Write this down, put it on your fridge. It's the best guide to politics ever. What the left accuses you of doing is precisely what they're doing themselves. They accuse you of fostering racism, pushing conspiracy theories, lying to the American people. It's all starting to finish the sentence. Of course, those are the three main things they're doing. And impeachment proves the point once more. The first article of impeachment accuses the president of, quote, abuse of power for, quote, soliciting the interference of a foreign government, Ukraine, in the 2020 United States presidential election, end quote. So just so you understand, House Democrats are arguing here that there was no meddling in American politics when a Ukrainian energy company hired the otherwise unemployable son of a sitting vice president at an exorbitant rate for no work at the very moment his father was policing, quote, anti-corruption efforts in their country. There's nothing political about that. And if you think otherwise, you believe in a conspiracy theory, a debunked conspiracy theory, a theory so debunked, in fact, that the president committed a literally impeachable offense simply by asking about it. That's right. And you know what else wasn't at all an abuse of power, but really the opposite of an abuse of power? When the last president, President Obama, killed a U.S. citizen without a trial using drone strikes. Not an abuse of power. Are you kidding? That's another debunked conspiracy theory. Or when he had the FBI investigate a rival presidential campaign based on an obviously fraudulent dossier of opposition research written by a foreigner using intel from the Russian government. That was not an abuse of power. What? You're crazy. What, do you work for Fox News or something, you freak? With every passing year, the presidency becomes a lot more like a monarchy. Not an abuse of power. In fact, no big deal. But ask about Hunter Biden's sleazy deal with the Ukrainians. Whoa, that's it, pal. We're removing you from office. Now, the second article of impeachment, by the way, accuses the president of obstruction of Congress. The crime here, supposedly, is declining to comply with congressional subpoenas. Subpoenas, by the way, like the ones of the phone companies that got people's phone records last week. You saw those. But subpoenas related to the impeachment process. Now, if you don't live in Washington, you may not know that neither party actually takes this seriously. Both parties know it's not a reason to impeach. President Clinton resisted subpoenas consistently, constantly during his impeachment saga 21 years ago. Nobody remembers that. Nobody would care if they did remember it, so we'll spare you any long explanation of it. But it happened. Come on. None of this is about actual high crimes and misdemeanors. They're not even trying to make that case. Why is this happening? You know why. Two reasons. First, Democrats, at least their troops on Twitter, still haven't accepted the defeat of 2016. They think impeachment would nullify that shocking loss like it never happened and allow them to ignore every lesson that came with that election. The lessons that both our parties needed to learn but didn't and have no interest in learning. They can continue to ignore those because Trump was impeached. He was an anomaly. Some weird orange guy showed up for a few years, but we kicked him out. We don't need to think about why voters would have supported him in the first place. But the other reason is looking to the future. Some Democrats, and they're not all dumb, that's for sure, some of them sincerely believe that impeachment will help their case in the 2020 elections. It'll unify their base, it'll demoralize the opposition, the Republicans, it'll humiliate the president, it'll improve their chances of winning the presidential election.
Breakthrough Media.
I believe that Republicans in Congress have subpoena power and they're not using it. I think Republicans are on defense during this entire impeachment process when President Trump is out there saying, look, I'm exposing the corruption. I'm exposing the private sector business deals, the cronyism that was going on in Ukraine, the corruption. And in fact, by law, the United States is supposed to help Ukraine clean up their corruption. And so this is all a diversion in order for the Democrats to ameliorate themselves of these private sector, very shady business deals that they were doing. Rachel, I think it's very clear that the U.S. government was used by political elites in order to enrich themselves through shady business deals, and they are willing to weaponize the U.S. government against people who call them out on it.
Boom. Yeah.
And I think the war being waged by politically connected elites against regular people is the real story here.
We voted for Donald Trump, and they're simply removing him because they don't like him. Americans are sick of your impeachment scandal. They're sick of the Democrat
Breakthrough Media.
Gentlemen, whenever you have a group of individuals who are beyond any investigation, who can manipulate the press, judges, members of our Congress, you're always going to have within our government those who are above the law.
A president who declares himself above accountability, above the American people, and above Congress's power of impeachment, which is meant to protect against threats to our democratic institutions, is a president who sees himself as above the law. We must be clear. No one, not even the president, is above the law.
No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
Nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law.
No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. No one's above the law.
No one is above the law.
That no person is above the law.
Nobody should be above the law.
Nobody should be above the law, including the President of the United States.
Breakthrough Media.